So, 10 years. 10 years. It's quite a lot of time. It hits you quite a lot when you realize just how much of your life that really is. I mean, we're talking back in August, the 5th of August of 2012. And back then, I was about 15? Yeah, I would probably be about 15 or 16. And I was just inspired by people like Chugga Conroy and Josh Jepson. They made LPs, I laughed, I enjoyed them, and thought, hey, I want to try this. And, well, here we are now, really. Where I still enjoy it, except I've had a bit of my ups and downs throughout the years, I will say that. When it started off, it was really good in 2012, because it was like an exciting new thing to jump into. Of course, back then I didn't particularly have the best tech, but I started with the mindset of, instead of making it all as clear, high quality, and going all out on it, instead I just made the most of what I currently had at that time. Which, in this case, was the iPod Nano. I forget which generation it is, but it's the one with the camera on it. I used to just use that to record my 3DS, because I wanted to do Minish Cap and Metroid Fusion for some reason. I imagine it's probably because those were the games that I felt the most passionate about. Of course, I enjoyed doing those. But looking back, I mean, yeah, the camera quality isn't particularly the best. But, you know, that's just the thing, really. You just make do with what you had. And then, the next year, I realized, okay, I gotta do a bit better than this, because I actually took an interest into it. So I switched to emulators, as I didn't really have any capture cards around that sort of time. So I used an emulator with Zelda, NES, and Sonic Advance 2, all the way basically up to about 2015. In those sort of years, emulation was what I did. I even used to get USB adapters for controllers, just to try and make it as authentic as I could, because I just couldn't afford a capture card or so. But then 2015 rolls around, and I managed to get one of them. Started with the first Elgato Game Capture HD, the one where, even though it had HDMI, you could also plug in really old systems. There was like this little adapter for it. It had like multiple ways to connect to, and it was great. The first series that used, or at least used the capture card, shall I say, was Rayman 2, The Great Escape. And I have fond memories of finding that really, really cool. Because back in, like, emulation days, the screen recorder that I was using was Camtasia Recorder 8. In fact, the editing software I used to use was Camtasia Studio 8. And I used that from 2012 all the way up to 2016. Because eventually I moved on to Adobe Premiere Pro because of the university course that I was on. And the thing is, when I recorded stuff back then on emulators, it did work, but the most annoying thing is that I was using Windows Vista on a laptop, because again, that's all I had, and every time I would end a recording session, it wouldn't just save. I had to wait for the thing to actually process the little bar going up, and then save it after that. So it wasn't a matter of just click off record, and then go for another one. That's where the exciting part came in for Rayman 2, because I could do that. Literally, with the capture card, I could just click record, start off, and then just click it off, and that's it, and just do another one. Just render them out also later on. In fact, the Elgato Game Capture HD, I used that because it started with Rayman 2, and then it went all the way up to about, what was it? I would say, I remember now, yeah, it went all the way up to 2018. And I know this for sure because of the fact that there was one limitation of the Elgato that sort of held me back. I say sort of because I didn't particularly have the best hardware. Like I've always been a guy where I just make do with what I currently have. I'm still like that now. A fun fact, actually, even to this day, my PC doesn't have a graphics card. I've never had a graphics card in my whole entire life. I've always just made do with the processor, the actual integrated graphics card. And it's quite incredible what you can do, actually, if you just stick to doing it with consoles. If it was PC gaming, that wouldn't have really worked, particularly for the high-demanding games. But for capture cards and stuff, it's served me fine. But the one limitation that the Elgato had is that it could do 720p 60 frames per second, but it could not do 1080p 60. And that didn't bother me that much, particularly when it came to doing Banjo-Kazooie, the LP of that, because the game itself doesn't even run in 60, it runs in like 25 or 30, I think it is. The XBLA version anyway, I think the N64 actually goes down even further. But the reason why I upgraded to the Elgato HD 60 is solely because I really wanted to capture Metro Prime 2 echoes in 60 frames per second. 1080p 60, mind you, not 720. So, upgrade to that. You know, when I was speaking of Windows Vista, by the way, the laptop, yeah, that lasted from about, let's see, 2012 to 2014. Because in 2014, I was in college at the time, and I just wanted something a bit more faster. So I upgraded to, yeah, quote-unquote upgraded. I don't know if you didn't call this an upgrade, but I switched from that to a Windows 8 HP laptop. That lasted me a good couple of years. It was definitely a bit quicker than the Vista, but wow. Looking back, that was very different also, especially the operating system. Like, goodness me, there wasn't even a search bar. Or a start menu, what the hell. It's just kind of wild, you know, to just realise that after 10 years, it's a big realisation of how much stuff you've done, like, throughout your life. And, you know, how passionate I am about all this, really. It's clear even now, because, like, I'm still continuing it. I'm continuing it in, like, a different way, as well. Usually, see, I tend to go into the nitty-gritty of every project, do, like, a giant retrospective or so. I might do that, I suppose, perhaps, like, on a stream. But, yeah, this time I just felt like being more sort of real, just more casual, laid back. I think that's the style that I'm going for more these days, because I have spent, well, as you can see, quite a long bloody time, focusing on this completely. Like, I would put in a lot of time, thought, and knowledge on all of this, basically. Like, this was the thing that I enjoyed doing the most. And I still enjoy doing it now, it's just I had a bit of a break. But I'll get to that also later on. I tend to look back on those days, though, as, like, fond memories. Because I'm starting to face, you know, the difficulties of, like, the adult world. Like, you really don't realize how challenging stuff is until you're actually out there, you know? Like, back then I just didn't really bother with half of this stuff because I was like, well, I'm fine just making YouTube videos, you know? It's not even like my living for what I do or anything, so, you know, stepping from that into the actual real world out there with responsibilities and stuff, yeah, it's a big old step. It's not completely off-putting though, because, you know, it's the way we progress, like as human beings. I think one thing I've always found actually with let's just say the audience response, the reception. I think that's the word, the reception. Is that on my channel it seems to be more catered towards blind LPs, and I think it's just because people, you know, get a kick out of watching people's reaction to things. Which, yeah, that's cool. That's fair enough. I enjoy doing those. They're fun to dish out. See, that's my key word for it also. Dish out. As like a person who's done this for a while now, I do find that the blind side of things is, don't get me wrong, there's still work in it. There is still work, but it's not necessarily like a lot. Because when I say dish out, I do quite literally mean throw it out there also. Because it's quite chill and easy to craft. The stuff that I do tend to spend more time on is the casual LPs. The ones where I play a game that I've played before in the past, but I try my best to showcase it in some sort of different way. You know, with trivia, with structure, with gameplay, with like some interesting things about the game, and just enough to keep the viewer immersed. You know, I do all my research and I plan it a lot and stuff. Examples being, if we're going from like past to present, it would probably be Klonoa Door to Phantom Isle, because I remember that one took a bit of time to craft in that, especially in the time of my life. That wasn't very nice at all, but it was an escape. And so there's Klonoa, then there's Sonic Colors, because I remember those taken quite a while, and now there's Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, because I did like a revisit of that from the one from 2013, and I think it turned out nice. The thing I try to remind myself though, all the time, is that I make projects for me, for like my passion, you know, because I like to do that. And I always try to stay away from the thing of, yeah, but what if nobody watches? And I've had that sort of thought for a while, which is why it's kind of kept me going. It's kept me going from blind to normal LPs, because I just never really fell down that territory, also. But the reason why is because I didn't have as much responsibilities and stuff back then. You know, it was spare time. It was just what I did for fun. But these days, I am finding that it's kind of hard to do that. Not necessarily in the sense because of the reception, but more time. Because as an adult in that, you do tend to have other things in your life that are more important. You have bigger priorities. So, because of that, I'm finding that I'm not as passionate also about doing the casual stuff, but it's mainly because I'm trying to find where I want to go with my actual life. Like, I might have a nice life, you know, like I do appreciate what I have right now. It's great, to be honest. You know, like, if I was to go back to 2012 and tell Pascal all this stuff that's coming ahead, he'd be quite shocked about it, I'd think. And yeah, I do really appreciate where I am now. You know, I'm grateful for all the people that have found me on like YouTube and streams, and you know, are just super supportive of my content. It keeps me going, and it makes me happy. It's nice to see that people, you know, enjoy what I do. It's nice to get gratification. But I do find that maybe I should have also tried looking elsewhere at the same time. Funnily enough, actually, most of the time, whenever it came to people asking for advice on like content creation and that, the one thing I always said to them is, okay, if you do this, make sure, you know, you see it as fun, like a hobby, and have something on the backup, just in case if it doesn't work out. You know, it's something I've realised in life, that a lot of people tend to say that and give advice, but do they actually do it themselves? Because I didn't. See, that's the thing. I went to, in my own life, outside of YouTube this is, I finished school, then I went to college, and then I went to university, and graduated. And that's as far as probably the most important part of my life has done, really, because after that, I just thought, well, I finished with university, I'm now gonna, you know, see if I can really boost YouTube side of things, and streams as well, and make that the main focus. Which, it's because I was kind of a bit scared of the real world. I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this sort of thing. I want to see if I can, you know, make my living or so from doing YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, life ain't that accommodating or so, because it's very difficult out there. It's very difficult indeed. And, you know, I'm fully aware of, like, I could make it a living, but I would not have to go by what I want to do, but what by the site wants me to do. And the question is, like, if I did all that, would I actually be happy? Would I actually be satisfied with my projects? Because it wouldn't feel natural anymore, you know? If I was to make this my living, and, you know, basically my work, my full-time work, I don't think I'd be satisfied, because I wouldn't be making what I want, I'd be making what I need to. And that's the one thing I always want to make sure that I never fall down for YouTube or Twitch, is that, you know, I never want to lose my way. Because otherwise, you know, I'm gonna, like, start questioning stuff about the whole channel and things. Although I say that and I make it sound like it never happens. Like, we're all human. You know, at some point, whatever we do in our lives, we're always gonna look back in, like, regret and stuff. Sometimes you'll just wake up and just wonder why, you know? Like, why did I bother with all this? What, and feel like you're just wasting your time or so. Yeah, that's true, because we all just go through that. It's just part of, like, the human brain. That's what it does. So, it is kind of a shame, because it's, in my view, it's sort of like, you know, expectations versus reality. But just because, like, I'm not quite where I would personally like to be, it doesn't mean that it's bad, because I'm quite grateful where I am, to be honest, you know. It might not be living status that I'm, like, making or so, but it's still something, you know? As long as there's something, surely that's all that matters. You know, it helps me out. Because all of your support that you throw on, like, Twitch, YouTube, and whatever, is really, really appreciative, you know? It's what just keeps me wanting to move on and carry on. And I thank you all for it. If I was to to get actually big or so, though, it would definitely have to be something like, you know, I'd have to change my entire personality, what I do, my work ethics, and it just wouldn't feel right. You know, they never say, well, actually, they always say, like, if you're passionate about something, don't turn it into a job. Yeah. Yeah, this is something I feel like people like Chugga actually has stayed by very, very well. You know, I mean, the man is gigantic. Like, he could very easily go even further if he wanted to. You know, he has that power. He does have that recognition and power. He could go all the way, but he chooses not to. Because he is Chugga. And he does what he wants. I do have fond memories, though, of blind LPs. Like, in the moment. They're not usually projects that I look back and I'm proud of, because the process to making them is usually quite straightforward. I mean, to put it short, it's basically just playing a game, but just reacting to stuff. It's sort of like a reaction video, but with just a bit more context and enthusiasm, and also a longer series on the subject. And it's, to me, it's not professional. It's not professional at all. I just enjoy doing it. I find that, you know, sometimes on YouTube, not everything has to be like professional. It's supposed to be like fun. It's like a hobby. So I always look back on like moments of, say, Metro Prime, finding all those last items, using Notepad to find every single last one, looking in every room, or, you know, finishing Mega Man X, finally beating Sigma. What about Metro Prime 2, even, you know, finishing the game 100%, finding that it was the longest running series on the channel, with, ironically, a total of 64 episodes. Don't know how that happened, but it did. I even said back then, it's like the game was made for me, which is funny because I haven't played it since then. So, that's a lie, isn't it? I'll be real here, and say that I personally do find myself underrated. Especially when I've been doing this stuff for 10 years, yet it hasn't really, you know, skyrocketed. It certainly gave me a bit of stuff, a bit of a boost, but it hasn't launched, if you know what I mean. Now, I do find it's a bit overdue. But that's not me saying that I want you guys to support me more and do stuff. It's me basically saying it's life. It's what happens. You know, you can only do your very best at the end of the day. And you can't really do much more than that. And instead, I should just appreciate where it is now and continue what I do, but also look at other places as well. Like, get somewhere else in life. Just so that then, I feel like, you know, I'm not really stuck, also. Because I feel like I haven't really progressed much after 2018, when I graduated. Ideally, in the actual sensible zone, what I should have done is I should have, well, obviously taken a little bit of a break after university, because I feel students need it before jumping into work, you know, just to refresh their batteries and whatnot. I feel I need to do that, then continue the YouTube side, but then only concentrate on it like a little bit. Treat it casually. Don't treat these like, you know, super serious things. Like, you know, don't have hope or expectations. What I should have done is had a long think about what it is that I wanted to do after the end of university, and then be like, I'm gonna do that. But my ambitious and confused mind decided not to. Instead, I just did normal general jobs, which is experience, but it's not really helped me out in the long run for like the career or so, for where I want to go. If I can't get anywhere or so on the sides of video production or editing, I'm not really too sure what else I'd like to do, but I'm sure I'll discover something. I mean, I'm passionate about tech, and that's another thing. I'm pretty sure there's other places that involve tech, tech advice and stuff. You know, I could probably help people out. Yeah, I feel like just, you know, I never rush in life. That's the thing. I don't rush in life, but I am certainly not very proficient with life. I'm proficient at the YouTube and the Twitch side of things, because that's what I do all the time. But actually life and all these other things which get you places, I need to up my game on. Which I've been doing, and I've been feeling a bit more confident as of late, which has helped me out a bunch. My girlfriend in particular has helped me out immensely for this. I'm not too sure, by the way, what happened in the year of 2020. Like, there was a huge lockdown, and I was quite active during that time on YouTube and Twitch, because I was releasing the Half-Life and streaming, but then also DKC came around. Now, DKC3, for those who've been here for a while, might know about this stupid, huge hiatus that it's had. The project launched in September of 2020. The project wrapped up on July 2022. I think what happened is I got an actual general job and spent a lot of my time there, and it kind of just made me think, well, I'm at this job now, you know, and thinking this is actually getting me somewhere. This whole YouTube stuff was fun, but I don't feel like doing it now because I'm, you know, working. As I thought that I was putting in too much effort or so for those sort of projects. So I just didn't do it. I kept streaming alive, but that's because streaming is, well, it's even more chiller in my book, you know? There have been times where, during my time there, I did try to motivate myself to get back into the phase of continuing YouTube with DKC3, and I did attempt. But I just did not want to go down the route of forcing it. There hasn't been much projects on my channel where I've forced stuff, and I say much because I'm not a perfectionist, you know, I'm not perfect. There have been a couple of times where I have forced stuff, but I feel every channel has probably done that. You know, it depends on the mood, whatever's going on in your life and stuff. Sometimes it's just needed to, like, finish this damn thing that's on your mind. And then I remember I did attempt it again, and I did record episodes of DKC3, because when it launched, it was uploaded every day, and there was 4 episodes. Now that's a lot of dead air, isn't it? Like, virtually 2 years later, the project wraps up. And I recorded 2 extra episodes. Yeah, just 2. And it's because when I jumped back into DKC3, I realized that things were very, very different. Back then, when I started it in 2020, I was in a very huge creative mindset of doing YouTube and Twitch. It was like my full focus. But it wasn't my full focus anymore because I had a job. And when I started recording it, I just realized I wasn't as passionate, I wasn't as talkative and things. I was more laid back, instead of taking the whole path and that so seriously. You know, the craft, the piecing it together and stuff. And all this attention to detail had sort of like died down. And it kind of made me worry a bit, because I'm like, well, hold on, how am I gonna continue this or so? Because I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I don't want to like force my character, or so I want to stay true to like who I am. So in the end, what I did, so I just didn't do it. Again, I just got distracted from work and just carried on. I just carried on streaming. I just enjoyed it, basically. I wanted to make sure that my return to YouTube was natural, not forced. Not me going, oh, I have to do this, or so. Which, yeah, sometimes we do need the I have to give us like that kick, but I didn't want to stay in the mindset of I have to. I just wanted that to be like a little boost to get me back into it. I had a long think about what it was that was actually causing me to not do it, and I thought it couldn't be because I don't enjoy it. It couldn't be the game. I don't have a problem with the game. Like, seriously, the material for the game was completely fine. It was just you beat the level and yeah, that's it. You beat the level. Like, it doesn't really sound that complicated. You just beat the levels and you find all the stuff and then you cut it up afterwards. And I realized it's because I've been streaming a while that's kind of what my brain is used to now. It's the thing that gets me in recording mode, particularly for stuff where it's supposed to have like a laid back vibe. Because before, I would always treat blind LPs as something super serious. You might notice actually, if you look back at blind LPs, there will be points where I just don't pay attention, like to what I'm reading, particularly in the series Metro Prime and Metro Prime 2. So there's so much text in that game, so much backlog, and when I was reading it, but I was too concentrated on, okay, how is my voice coming out and how is my reading coming out, instead of actually reading the information and just processing it like you're supposed to when you play the game. These days I can do that now because I've realized for projects like that, the most important thing is your experience on the game, and that's it, just your experience on the game. I'm not particularly creating anything unique, like on the sides of showcasing or like a different style. It's just me playing a game on camera. That's all it is. So I realized I should probably step down a bit from like the super serious tone for blind LPs. And so, eventually I decided to find a way where I could try to tie both of them in, because I thought, well, streaming's casual, so why don't I just do both? Now this was a bit of a gamble, because going back to what I was saying earlier, you gotta remember my PC was, and still is, not that great when it comes to graphics. So I was sort of like, okay, if I was to stream and record at the same time, can it do it? Surprisingly it can. To my amazement, it can actually do that. In fact, I stream in 720p 60 and record in 1080p 60. Which that's a huge thing for me, because for me when it came to editing LPs, one thing I always liked is being able to manually control everything. Just have manual control. Now the problem is when you stream, you don't have multiple tracks, like audio layers. You have one. One gets sent out to the channel, right, to Twitch or YouTube. And when you download it, all of the audio that you hear, the mic, the game, the alerts, are all meshed into one giant track. And that can be a pain, because, at times, sometimes it's just nice to have manual control. There might be a point where I just want to beef up the game volume. There might be a point where I just want to zoom in on something, without deteriorating the quality. So I thought I can't just do that, especially since I don't particularly have the best internet. I mean, it's fast enough, but it's not particularly great when you want to download giant files. It's fine for the casual use, like say watching streaming services, but still. So, by God, am I glad that this worked. This recording method actually worked. Where basically what it is now is, it's kind of mad to me actually how the process behind this has changed. I'll explain what it is now, and then I'll explain what it was before, right? So, these days, what I do is I set up the game, just get it all done over with, you know, do a bit of a test, and go live, and then, you know, I click record when I'm actually going to start the gameplay, start the recording, and then I click off the recording. That's it, that's all I do. Although granted I do have like a second timer as well, but that's mainly just to bear in mind how long the actual episode will be when it's cut down. See, there's like, the raw gameplay is left untouched because I like to keep every bit of gameplay, every bit of commentary that I can. And see, you know, if there's like an interesting moment, you say if something unexpected happens, I can just splice it in. But the main thing I do have is like a second timer. So like, if at points where I know, oh, this bit's not going to be shown, I'm going to be cutting this out in the editing, I'll pause the timer. And then I'll bear in mind how much that the actual episode has gone on for. And it's helped me out immensely. There's actually something that I did in Metro Prime 2 Echoes, which explains why most of the videos there are quite... If you notice, the timer is quite very consistent for like the duration of the videos. It's like a new thing that I discovered also. But okay, that was me explaining it now. Now, before, what it was is, oh my goodness, when I set up the blind LP, I had to set up the capture card software. Then I had to set up the Audacity, which is the recording program. And then I would do a test recording on the game and do like a 2-second thing. Sort of go 1, 2, 1, 2. Because I realized if the game like actually responded in 2 seconds, it means it won't corrupt. Because I realized for some reason when it did 5, it did. And that really annoyed me back then also. But what I'd have to do is I'd have to hit record on the game capture, then I have to hit record again, but on my Audacity. And to sync it up, what it was, it wasn't the most annoying thing in the world, but you know, these days I'm just finding the more convenient something is, the better, especially in the adult world. But what it was is just I'd sometimes pause like the game and just go up, up, down, down, up, 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 down, down. And that was like a cue, that was basically like something to make sure that my commentary was synced in the editing. Sort of, you know, kind of similar to like when you watch like a behind the scenes of the movie. Like you like take one with a clapper. The clapper's just then the audio syncs. It just makes it easier for the editing side of splicing it together. And that was the old method also that I used to do. And, you know, I'd have to export the video separately and export the audio separately. You see where I'm coming from? Like, there's just more to it, which is why it's strange to me that these days all I actually have to do now is just hit record and then hit off record again. That's something, isn't it? I'm not here to talk too much about the Twitch side of things because this is YouTube 10 years. This is all about the YouTube side. I might talk about Twitch a little bit here and there, but I'm trying to keep the main focus mainly for like YouTube, as this is like the big revelation also. The mics were different as well, because I went from an iPod Nano, that was my mic. What I used to do is I used to like record my iPod Nano on the game, but take the video and audio and just make them separate and then use that as the mic, because that's just all I had. Then eventually when I was in college I bought like a headset, Microsoft Live Chat LX3000 I think it was. Used that for a while. The first project used that was Mario vs Donkey Kong. That was in 2014. I used that for a good couple of years. But my oh my, I had like some strange setups with that when it came to capture cards. Emulation was fine, you know, it was literally, because I'm playing on the PC anyway, as the sound goes to my earphones and I just use the mic. It's, you know, self-explanatory really. But I remember when it came to recording Mega Man X2, that was a bit different. I wanted to use the same mic and headset because it just still worked and it was fine. But at times I did break it quite a bit. I went through like 3 of them because of warranty. Because I'm not that good at looking after headsets. Never have been. But I remember my setup for that was really weird. What I'd have is I would have my headset. No, not my headset. So I'd have my headphones, just normal headphones, in like on my head or so that then I can hear the audio from the TV. I didn't get picked up on the mic. And then I'd have my headset on top of my headphones. So it looked like I was basically just wearing like 2 pair of headphones with a mic. I was very fortunate that back then I wasn't using webcam. Because oh my god. Yeah, there's been like some strange situations or so. But I find it just interesting how I've always just made do with stuff. Like, most people would probably just get like something to just make it easier, but they'd spend quite a lot or so on this thing, whereas for me I always like to find ways where I can just save money and just get the thing to do it, but just involves a little bit more things. Like say for instance I could have easily got a HDMI splitter, but instead I just bought a whole bunch of like bi-directional splitters, like these tiny little square things, right, and just sort of made those go into like the current splitter that I had, and that does fine. It does me completely fine, to be honest. It's worked me out. So it's worked out really well.
Oh wow! And that was it, was it?
One thing I do know though that I've broken out of, and this has surprisingly like affected me a lot behind the scenes. It's nothing terribly tragic or anything, but it's more nice to just escape out of. But what it is when I did LP series, I would kind of limit my gaming, like in my own time, because I'd be like, I could play this now, or I could record it. And I did that an awful lot. And because of that, half the time I would spend most of my time actually just making LP projects of that game, but not really gaming much in my own time to chill. It is very important to chill. It's super important to like separate, the two, just to make sure that then you don't like overwork. Because like sometimes you can get stuck in a loop, and that's what I found that what I was. Everyone else was all playing these games, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that because I'm making this YouTube series at the minute. I haven't got time. Said me back then. And that's something that I've broken out of as of late. Because these days I've managed to separate the two. Where I still choose games to do, like on stream, and then, throw them up on YouTube. But I choose them carefully. I choose ones that are going to suit me and, something I'm comfy to do. And in certain games I feel like playing in my own time, I just do it. I just do it. It's been the same with like TV shows, because same with movies. Any form of media basically, I didn't really keep that much up to date with it. I'm not saying I didn't watch any media at all and all I did was YouTube. No, like, there were like a couple of times, but there wasn't enough times. Especially when, like this isn't really my full career. Also, this is a sideline. And that's what I'm trying to remind myself now at the minute. This stuff that I'm doing online, YouTube and Twitch, it's not my career. It is currently a sideline. It is something that I do for fun, and it helps me out. Because I need to find that career. Especially in this ever so changing landscape of YouTube. Because this site has been through a lot of changes, I tell you. My goodness. Some good, some bad. It's kind of like a mix in between, to be honest.
Kind of reminds me of it. Is there allowed to redo it though?
I feel it's definitely not a very reliable one though at the minute, especially for what I want to do with the channel and stuff. I don't think it would really cater towards that sort of thing. But, you know, never say never. It could happen, but I'm trying not to go down the route of it's going to happen. It's more, maybe it will, maybe it won't. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go over there. That's basically what I'm doing. I will say though, for casual LPs, I'm definitely putting that a bit on the back burner. Mainly because at the minute I'm not really currently feeling it for casual LPs. But I'm going back to my old method, where if I wasn't really feeling it, if I don't feel like showcasing the game or anything, making something unique out of it, I just play like a game I've never played before, like make it a blind series. That's what I've fallen back into now, and it's good to be back, because I forgot how nice this backup also was. In fact, back then, I remember also I did one-off Let's Plays, Blind Edition, and one-off Let's Plays. Some of those I look back in and I'm just sort of like, okay, that was a thing. Like, I don't regret it ever happening and that, but there's nothing really significant or so for those sort of series. They're not like the main meat of the channel, they're just like a sort of thing that's on the side, you know? It's not really much thought or consideration. It was mainly just filler content because I felt like I had to dish out stuff whilst I was making like mainstream LPs, which in a way, when you think about it, has evolved. That I remember having this realization also, like maybe 2 years back, and thinking, oh my god, no way. One-off Let's Plays, and One-off Let's Plays Blind Edition in particular, have basically evolved into streams, into vote for a game night. Because, I mean, it's kind of similar, don't you think? In One-off Let's Plays Blind Edition, I would just play a game for about, say, 20 minutes, half an hour or so. Or maybe smaller than that. And then that'll be it, because it would just be something to say about what I think about the game. Also just react to it. It's kind of the same thing with Game Night, really. It's that people actually get to choose which games. More interactive. It's kind of mad, actually. I like that's evolved. I wouldn't really say the same, though, for one-off Let's Plays, mainly just because those are, like, showcases? But then, again, like, the difference with it, it's showcases, but, like, of all sorts about the game, not just of, like, 20 minutes, of, like, footage that's, like, cut down or so. Or at least for the new ones. To start with, it was literally just, hello, this is my first place. Just, like, wing it, basically. In fact, it was like that with a bunch of mates. But the late ones had a bit more thought and consideration, particularly the Sonic Mega Collection video for the GameCube and Vib Ribbon. That had a lot of time and stuff thrown into it, really. I'm actually really happy how those came out, really. Probably one of the more one-off LP series that I'm proud of. Will one-off LPs continue? Maybe. Maybe one day if I feel like it. See, this is the nice thing. I've found a new system where I can crank out stuff for blind LPs, and I can play more games in my collection that have just been sitting on my shelf for years because I've been putting them off for way too long because of recordings now. I can get all that done, and I can also get them done in my spare time, but at the same time I can also take my sweet time into making something casual if I want, like maybe a one-off or maybe even a casual LP. The point is, though, there's no rush, there's no desperation for it. These days I'm going with the flow instead of treating it so seriously. I do find, though, that with casual LPs, even though I do say like, oh, I could do those in my own sweet time, I think it might be more motivated to work on the modes more frequently if the channel, starts to grow even further, and I can actually start seeing the light, if you will. But again, I'm not hoping for it. I'm done hoping for it now. I just need to accept where it is and be very appreciative of what I have, not what I desire. Majora's Mask, in particular, is always an LP series that I look back on and don't have the best memories from. Mainly because it was in the category of like casual LPs that I've done, but it was extremely rushed out. And the reason why is because I was a bit overjoyed with my first PC. I went from laptops to an actual full desktop PC where it had a lot of power and stuff. Again, not like a gaming PC or anything, but it was great for like editing, and hence why I still use it to this day. This PC has actually lasted me since 2017, about May time, which is mad, absolutely mad.
Nice, sounds like a fair deal to me. So how about we just do that nice exchange right here?
But I was really overjoyed by it, and because of that, I was just wanting to crank things out. I was taking too much advantage of how much power I had on the PC rather than actually focusing on the actual LP series. Instead, I focused on the quantity. I mean, I learnt a lesson that day and thought I shouldn't really record too many episodes. Because before the LP actually launched, I recorded, I kid you not, about 43 episodes, I think. Yeah, don't do that. Because, you need to give like some time for like responses for comments and stuff. And also, you don't want to rush the project. If you record too much, like, you're rushing the project. You can record in advance, like you can, but you just, you got to be a bit careful. That's the thing. I just thought, it's my favorite game ever. I know what I'm talking about. It turned out very strange indeed. I mean, it took me ages to just get outside of Clocktown, for God's sake. I could have spliced that a lot better. Who knows, maybe in the future or so I might make like my way of doing the LP. Because I didn't really like how it turned out. And, it's nice to see that there are some people out there that really enjoyed how it came out. But for me, the actual creator, I don't like it that much, to be honest. And I feel that's, a lot of people could probably say the same, not just for LPs, for things in life. Like, say for instance, if somebody's like, this dinner's lovely, and then the actual chef will be like, it's okay, but it could probably do with a bit more this, I could do this next time. It's that sort of thing, really. It can be applied to many different things.
Like I said, I'm going to show everything, really. Also, look, piece of heart in the tree.
So that's something, isn't it?
Ouch, watch out.
I'm glad I've fell down this route as well of the blind series. I don't keep talking. Talk. Yes, I know it's an LP. Yes, I know I gotta make it interesting and stuff. But this ain't, this ain't my job or anything. No, I'm just trying to make it more casual, more fun, so that I'm actually paying attention. I've noticed actually, even in the latest stuff like with DKC3 and even Klonoa 2, I'm paying way more attention for like stuff happening, whereas before I'd be thinking more about what I'm saying. Do I sound enthusiastic enough while playing the game? Like it doesn't matter, just play it, enjoy it, and concentrate. Whatever you want to talk about, just talk about it. Just make it natural. Make it natural. And if at points when I'm quiet, just turn the game audio up. That's probably been a big saviour. Because I was like, what am I going to do if I'm really quiet? Well, just turn the game audio up or something, Just make it feel like an experience. That's the goal. That's basically the new one that I'm going for. Twitch has definitely taken priority a lot of times over YouTube, and I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that, especially from 2020 with DKC3. But it's because I just realized a faster build of a community. Because my growth on YouTube has been really, really slow. It still is, really. Not much has changed or so in terms of speed. Yeah, I've still got a lot of subscribers, but I'm on about the actual speed to get there in the first place. There's not really anything that drastically different. Whereas Twitch kind of opened my eyes a bit, because that built up a lot faster and felt like more personal. There was an actual, like, I could feel a community and stuff coming up from this. But again, I was just too hopeful in, like, seeing it go reach for the heavens and stuff, you know? In this case, it just reached the mountaintop, and we just need to move on to the next one. Basically. I've realised I'm not really speaking much about BLPs. I've talked about a couple of them, but only the ones that really, really are super memorable to me. And the reason why is just because I've already done this like loads and loads of times. Most years, when it came to like celebrating my anniversaries on YouTube, I would always just sort of do like a huge retrospective looking back on stuff and being like, oh, this is blah, you know, it came out on this time, and this happened on every single project, and I don't really want to do that these days. Probably because I'm like, well, I've done that too many times. I just want to do something different, just make it more casual, you know? This isn't me being proud of what I am and like seeing myself as a dominant king or anything, but more just like, this is fun, but I need to like move on and like go somewhere else, but not leave this behind either. Because man, I tell you, if I was to stop, if I was to actually delete my Twitch or YouTube, that would affect me quite a lot. Because that would be a lot of history gone, you know? And, you know, the stuff that I'm doing right now is actually helping me out. It's getting me something. So why stop? If I'm enjoying it, why stop? You might as well carry on. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Just carrying on, really. Carrying on how it is, and just making sure I'm sticking by the thing of making it fun instead of a tedious chore. Because that's what it would have been if I carried on or so alongside working and just forcing everything out. So, I do believe we're at the end of all this. I think I've got out everything that I need to say. And what I would advise is, especially for my 10 years of experience, is to creators out there, particularly small creators who want to make this their job, stuff like me, is that you can keep trying. You can keep going for it, and as long as you improve along the way, that's all good. Except, you need to have something on the backup. You do not want to go into Twitch or YouTube in this relevant matter of hoping that this will actually be where you want to be. Because this platform is always changing, and it's very, very difficult to stand out, like in the crowd. So what you should do is still carry on with this, but just enjoy the ride. Have fun with it. Find stuff to like improve, and just, you know, make it something that makes you feel good about yourself. Makes you feel good for something that you've done in your day. Gives you a creative outlet. But at the same time, you need something more realistic as well to be on the backside. Because at the end of the day, you know, you you don't want to end up like me, sort of. And the reason why I say sort of is because like I'm not like upset or down where I am right now. I'm happy where I am. It's just I feel it's about time I probably go even further. You know, it's a realization. So I think that's something that I'd advise the most to people wanting to be content creators. Like, you don't want to treat this as your goal, your priority. Only do that when you start to see change, when you start to see the light. And if you feel it's right, and if it's what you want to do. And if not, then you need to think elsewhere. Because the years swing by. Time is non-existent when you're busy. And you need to be very careful with that time and how you spend it.
Cal, time to get up.
So, I bet a lot of you are wondering now, what happens? You're at 10 years, man. What are you gonna do? What am I gonna do? I'm gonna carry on. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna carry on how I am, but in like just a different format, basically. Still doing blinds, still occasionally doing casuals, still doing like one-off stuff every now and then, but just treating it more as like on the side and enjoying the ride along the way. Because I've got a career to gain, man. I gotta get somewhere, truthfully. Somewhere that I can actually get to, and you know, be content. So this means more blind LPs, more frequent ones, actually, because I found a new system, and it's working out really, really well for the way I want this channel to go, and the way I want to craft stuff. It's working out super, super good. From time to time, you might see a casual LP, or even a casual one-off. That. I'm just gonna go with the flow for this channel, and just, you know, enjoy my stuff. Swing by, watch it if you want. It's there if you need it. So, here's to 10 years of Calham64, and hopefully many more. Thank you for watching and listening, as I appreciate all those who've stuck around. And so, we continue.